couple copies right now, but Shawnita is responsible for distributing funding. So when our groups come through and they request funding, she's the one that is responsible for that. She'll tell you all about that process. The thing that is important to know is that if you request money, one, that money is never intended to be your budget. So that's not intended to be all of your money. That's intended to supplement your money. So, whether you take dues or do fundraisers or get sponsorships, that sort of thing, those are very separate things. The money that you request from student government or from GPSS or from Fine Arts Funding Board is intended to supplement your actual budget. Does that make sense? That's my first point. My second point is that those two things never cross. So if you request money from SGA, they're never going to write you a check for you to deposit into your off-campus bank account. You will have an off-campus account if you choose to. Some groups choose not to. But you can have an off-campus bank account. Any money that you request is never going to go into that. We're going to spend it for you. Does that make sense? So if you're going to a conference or you're requesting t-shirt supplies or you're having an event and we're paying for a contract for you or something, we take care of paying for that with you. So you come through us with that. We have nothing to do with your off-campus bank account, okay? So let me make that clear. You're responsible for your bank account. My hand is not in that. I want to be as far away from that as I can be. But I want to tell you how you go about setting that up. To set up your off-campus bank account. In this account, you're going to put any money from fundraisers or dues or sponsorships. If you have a business that you work with and they sponsor you, that all goes into this off-campus account. The first thing you have to do is you have to call the IRS. You can also go to irs.gov. Sounds very scary. It's not a big deal. You call them and you request a tax ID number for your organization. Essentially, this is like a social security number for your group. So if you were going to the bank for yourself to request a social security or to set up an account, they would require your social security number be on there. Now, that's going to be tied to somebody's social security. So heads up, if you're the one that's calling, you have to provide your social security number to be tied with that account. Does that make sense? They have to have somebody's information to provide this tax ID number.
And that's different from an EIN number, like with sole proprietorship?
No, they're relatively the same, yeah. So the link actually on the IRS website says employer identification number, so it's the same. One of the things that is often confused here is that by requesting a tax ID number, you are not setting yourself up to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization. In order to achieve that status, you have to go through the Department of State and work through that whole process. It's a whole long thing. Having this, which you set up through the IRS, does not make you a nonprofit organization. Does that make sense? So that when people make donations to you or when you get sponsorships, that sort of thing, they are not donating to a nonprofit organization unless you go through the process to set yourself up as such. Okay? Does that make sense? You don't fall within the university's nonprofit number either. So, if you are a part of a national organization, if you fall within a larger umbrella of a national organization, you may qualify through theirs. But that's something that you have to find out from them. So if you're a chapter of a national organization, you need to find out from them, do we use your tax ID number or do we set up our own? And do we qualify through your organization as a nonprofit? Questions about that? That's often a really confusing thing. Yes?
If we do use our own, for example, faculty advisors, what if they move on to a different position at some point in time at a different university?
Yes, so that will happen. It will happen that whoever you set up your account with will transition. And so the easiest thing to do is to contact the IRS when that transition happens and have them transition that over to the next person. Does that make sense?
It doesn't happen with students or faculty advisors.
Yes, yes.
Is it under?
It will happen that your person that you set that up with will transition out. It's important to know that if you were ever to want to change the name on that account or change anything like that, you would have to stay updated. So it's a good practice to continually update that with the IRS. Now, most groups on campus don't do that, and so we'll have groups that will come and say, we need to change something on our bank account, or we need to change the name on our bank account, but they can't because they've lost touch. They've lost all information about who has set that up. So just be wary. That can be a complicated thing. Other questions about that? That was a really good one. Okay, so you're going to set that up, and you'll set it up as a school organization. You'll see on, if you do it on the website, you'll see that one of the options is as a school organization. The thing that I'll tell you is that when you request on the website, they mail you the number. So there's a little bit of a wait there. You have to wait for that to come in snail mail. If you do it on the phone, that they'll tell you your tax ID number over the phone. But usually there's a wait. You get put on hold. So just if you want to wait now or you want to wait later, whatever that looks like for you, inevitably as you work with the IRS, you're going to wait. So be warned. Other questions about that? Okay, you're going to take that tax ID number that you set up, and you're going to go to any bank of your choice. Lots of students use Bank of America or Wells Fargo. Some groups that qualify for State Employees Credit Union, if they have someone who's a member or affiliated there, they can use that. We don't care who you use. We have nothing to do with that. And for that bank, you're going to have 2 students and a faculty advisor on that account. The faculty advisor is there not to manage your bank account, but to assist with transitions. So that if, as your officers transition out, if by some chance they don't transition the new officers onto that account, it helps to have the faculty advisor there to be able to go and make that transition on that bank account. Does that make sense? You're responsible for your bank account, but you should have your faculty advisor on there to help with that transition piece. Again, we don't care which bank you use. I've had groups that have had problems with BB&T before because BB&T requests some number that doesn't exist. They request your organization number. There is no organization number. So every time they call and we say, we don't know what you're talking about. So be warned of that, but lots of groups do use BB&T, so I don't have anything against BB&T. A lot of times the bank will require a letter from us stating that you are a recognized organization on campus. So if they do, just let me know. I can fax it over to them. I can email it over to them. That's a quick and easy process. But you can either come by or call us, and we'll take care of getting that letter for you there. Questions about that bank account? Call the IRS, get your tax ID number. Take that to any bank of your choice. 2 students and a faculty advisor. If you need a letter, let me know. Okay? Great. Again, we talked about this a little bit last week, and we'll talk about it some next week too. But as you set up a bank account, think about, do we really need to have a debit card? Is that just an opportunity for someone to be tempted with something? Think about how you're going to be extracting money from that account. Think about who should be on that account, if it's going to be your president, your treasurer, whatever that looks like. But think about that. Be intentional with it. Again, we are out of the bank account situation, so we can't help you with that. When problems do come up with that, I have to stay away from that. So I can advise you on that. I can tell you what you should do, but you're responsible for that piece. Other questions about the off-campus bank account? Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to Shanita then to talk about requesting money from SGA, Graduate Professional Student Senate, or Fine Arts Funding Board.